Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Fire Emblem Heroes Crazy Friendless Unit Reveal time. So before we start, I'd like to apologize to Class, Fabry, Cameron, Freewin, Makash, Stella, Franny, and Mr. November for removing you guys from my friend list for the time being. You see, when I was doing some arena earlier, I was trying to get this person named Claire Bear into my friend list. You don't normally see plus 10 Claires, and when I found out that my friend list is full and I missed it, I was extremely upset, so I had no choice but to remove. Now let's see how the voting gauntlet goes. It looks like Kagero is the victor. I have bet well into this massive melons of hers. It's a bit of a shame that Sprang Meno were defeated, but what can we do? It was very shameful what happened to her in the hands of Spring Crom. Alright, let us begin with the reviews. So the first one, we have this Jacob here. So it seems like he's improved quite a bit since the last time I reviewed them. Instead of using that stupid sturdy blow thing with attack and dev, he focused now entirely on his attack. And on top of all this, he's given himself Fire Sweep Bow. So now he can take full advantage of Bold Fighter without having to worry about counterattack. That is an extremely disgusting player face setup that this dude has set up right here. He's also got Death Ploy on top of all this. So now we have to put up with this guy with, let's see, 58 and plus 6, 64 attack. And on top of this with Earth's Blessing, so 66 attack twice without any counterattacks to worry about. This guy is set up his Jacob to be an absolute monster. And Armor Boots just makes it so that he can reach further without any assistance from any of his allies. So that is really disgusting. This is a sick setup. I can't believe that somebody would do something like this. But, well, this is what happens when you release a skill as broken as Bold Fighter. Alright, and now the second is this Jafar. Looks like he hasn't changed much, still using the wonderful Savage Vantage combo. Then there's Soul, using this wonderful Christmas Crom with, well, dual phase, of course, because Bold Fighter is one of the most broken ass skill in the game. It allows you to do something like this. And of course, we see his attack ploy, and he can use that to his advantage because he has quite a bit of high res. And with his balanced mixed defenses, it makes it much tougher once attack ploy procs to bring him down. While his Slaying Hammer and Distant Counter setup combo is going to tear you to shreds. And of course, worst things worse is that he has Gale Force. So this guy is set up to do just about everything there is to do and not even have to worry about speed. Speed is a complete non-factor nowadays for armor, so it is kind of disgusting how this game has evolved into this. It makes me sad, but well, that's just how it is. Hopefully the other classes get something like that, but I honestly don't know what they were thinking when they introduced Bold Fighter. It's just entirely too overpowered. And speaking of which, here comes another one. Here comes a, well, I wouldn't even call him God Grima, just regular Grima with dual face once again. Bold Fighter, Quick Repulse 3, you know, we have Bold Fighter. Why not release Quick Repulse as a seal, you know, so we can do stuff like this. And this is exactly what happens. You have Steady Breath, you have Bold Fighter, you have this. We probably wouldn't use Aether though, because the number doesn't quite match up. I would use something that uses 4, that has a 4 turn counter. Probably something like, oh, I don't know, Ignis or something. Though Aether could still work because of the fact that Bold Fighter does charge things a little oddly when you actually go on the attack. Though that Gale Force setup earlier might probably be a little scarier because Robin is a violent beast. He has a lot of attack as it is, and he also hits weaknesses, and the fact that his attack is magic by nature, most units tend to have more dev than they do have res. So this guy is going to do way more damage than the other dudes and just tear them to shreds one after another. Of course, he can't exactly carry Hammer Breath, but, you know, he is still pretty deadly to deal with, especially to all types of units instead of just armor. Okay, so now we have Matthew with Marth. We talked about how he's a great buff bot. You know what, though? I feel like people still don't quite appreciate Marth enough for what he is. Because, honestly, having drives all over the place is a great thing. People tends to give credit to people, like, in times of war, to, like, heroes, great generals. But they never think about, like, what happens behind the scene. You know, the peasants, the supply officers, such like that. I believe that, the backbone is just as important as the heroes in the front lines. But, people don't tend to focus on that. And that's what Marth is nowadays. Because he's strong, but he's not entirely going to win a battle on his own. In fact, his main key is the fact that he can buff people, and now he can debuff people. Chill speed is an absolutely beautiful setup on him. I would do the same thing with him. Although I might switch reciprocal aid later. Back then, that might have been a good idea, but nowadays, with all the debuffs that's going on, I would highly recommend slapping on a wonderful, wonderful thing we call Harsh Command, and turn your Marth into a wonderful commander that removes debuffs and instead turning into buffs. And then you can really tear into the enemy. This is what a true support bot is all about. Healing a little bit, yeah. Although you could definitely play around with this. You can definitely do this. You can have your units enter Desperation or Vantage. So there are uses to this as well. So I wouldn't say, just remove that for Harsh Command. Because Harsh Command itself is also kind of situational. But seeing how nowadays there's a lot of debuffs going on, give it a thought. It might work out for you. And then we have Blimp. I always like Blimp because he has a lot of fun armor units, but recently he has been kind of using just Sephiel. I would much prefer to see his Blanino because that's when I had added him to my friend list. But anyway, so here we are with this wonderful Sephiel. I believe I talked about him before, and as you can see, he has 43 dev on top of a 62 HP. So if you're a physical dude and you try to hit him, you're gonna run into some problems. But I'm kind of not sure about this because Sephiel cannot really be a 40 plus 10, not until a long time later. So he's not, I guess he still will go into like the higher ranked arenas, but I feel like he might run into some magic users along the way just because he doesn't hit, the maximum scores, which gives you all armors to fight. Still, for the most part, I feel like he's probably still going to be dealing with infantry and armor. I think the magic thing is going to kind of slow down a bit. You'll still probably deal with, like, magic armors and maybe, like, some certain casters with, like, a lot of BST for some stupid reason. But for the most part, you don't even have to worry about magic. So this kind of setup is pretty good. And of course, even if you do have to worry about magic, you have ward armor as it is. And it's not like his resistance is really bad or anything. 25 is decent, especially on top of that health. So he's a wall, and, well, this setup definitely set it up so that he can defend against all types of attacks. It would be better if I used a regular DDXX. That's what I like to use the most, but I can see why he's doing this. Alright, and right here, what do we have here? Okay, we have Wardo on the attack and Heavy Blade 3. So, compared to Selena Miku, Roy has a lot more attack potential and can actually put Heavy Blade to work. Although 53 attack still feels kind of low for something like this. Hopefully Binding Blade, well actually, now that the Fae channel is up, I should probably start researching that, but I think I will wait until the weapon refinery thing is released because Carol's info still hasn't been completely revealed yet, so I'm gonna just stick everything in one topic before I start building units around them. But as this is fine as it is. I like this setup. My Selena Miku can't do it because my Selena Miku does not have the attack to do it. So she has to rely on stuff like Steady Breath. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. Well, Nero Angelo hasn't changed much, but you know what? I don't see too many plus 10 Sonias around, and this is exactly how I would have probably built my plus 10 Sonia. Give her a Swift Sparrow and, well, just let her rip with quick Quick and Pulse, a moon bow from her is gonna hurt so much thanks to that Wadal tome, which still isn't a mainstream thing yet, but I'm sure one of these days they'll release it. I mean, we already have Wadal Dagger, so Wadal tome is probably just around the corner. Or maybe not, because then it would really diminish Sonya. Yeah, maybe that won't happen right away. Tome is quite strong, but unfortunately, thanks to how Arena is currently placed, honestly, I really hate that, because it makes it so that builds like these can just won't get away with it. I mean, I'm not saying that this build is bad, it's just that the higher tier arena is all about fighting stupid things like armor units and such. I like to think that, you know, casters actually have a role in the upper tiers. Hopefully one day they'll change it, but honestly, I don't like the BST arena setup right now. I want to fight all types of units, not just a few certain types. It makes me so bored that I just screw around in arena. I don't even bother trying to stay in tier 20. I just fight whatever I feel like, using whatever units I feel like. Anyway, enough rambling. Let us move on to Simayi. So Simayi's form is, well, I hate swords a lot. I kind of like that, but I feel like I'd probably use distant counter or close counter, distant defense or close defense on this setup. Just because, I mean, there are some really strong sword fighters out there, like Zelgius, that really deserves a sword breaker in the face. But for the most part, I'm kind of, I don't really like to specialize too much into one thing, especially considering Fjorm's nice mixed defenses. If you were to work on that, you can, I feel like that'd be a better strategy. As for Aether, we already had a talk about that. She doesn't really have that high of an attack. Even with Lipton Iced Tea, her attack is sitting at 50, which, yeah, I mean, it's not terrible, but, you know, it's not great either. Aether, though, is really nice when you're fighting a group of enemies, especially a group of medium to low strength enemies. But when it comes to really tearing someone up, I feel like something like, oh, I don't know, Ignis or Glacies will do the best. Probably Glacies. I mean, come on, like, Princess of Ice, why is she shitting fire? You know? Still, she's a great hero, and I feel like she's getting a little underestimated. I feel like she's one of those heroes that you really want to always have. I might just work on plus 10ing her if the legendary banners have, like, good blue heroes, because I feel like she's gonna be a thing where she's gonna be on the rotation a lot. And since that's the case, if we get a good water season, well, she's gonna boost your arena scores like no other. But I really hate that. God damn it, I hate that so much. I really wish they'd get rid of BST as a scoring. Keep merge, fine, keep merging. But, you know, I want to see mages. I want to see, like, all different kinds of units in the arena. But such is life for the time being. Maybe they'll change it down the line. Anyway, I might do Wrath in that setup as well, so that, you know, when she does unleash her powerful move after tanking a strong attack, and she'll survive because she has a lot of def and res, she'll rip into someone's face and they'll die. That's how I would have set it up. But still, I mean, you know, if I'm a sword user, I will be very afraid of Simayi. Alright, so here we go with Sunwood Zapguan Bang Wong with Raven, with Duo, Life and Death 3. See right here, that's what a real man is all about. He is so unafraid of death that he decides that he's gonna just slap himself with tons of Life and Death 3s. So how does this scale exactly? Well, this is actually kind of risky, but let's see. So he's put everything into his attack, as you can see here. He's using Aether, although in this case I probably use Heavy Blade and Gale Force. It's a lot scarier, but this is still fine. High attack and Aether works well. It's just that he doesn't have anything to speed it up with, besides from his own weapon. Anyway, so defense-wise, we're looking at what, like a 61 res? I mean, I guess they're, like, mages hit like around 50 something, maybe 60 something, depending on the buffs. So he could die in one hit, but it's not that common. And then there is this as well. This is kind of the same thing as well. I mean, we're looking at what, 50, 67. 67, I mean, there are units with 67 attack power. I mean, you've seen them before, like, no, then again, God Grima is in a class of his own. That build that I set up is disgusting. But of course, if he decides to hit himself, he would die. He would kill himself. That's what that is about. But you see, he has to go through all that to get 67 attack. Of course, he can just get buffs, and then he'll. I don't even know what kind of attack power he'll go into. But currently, as this is disgusting. This is a lot of power. Although I probably run desperation on this. I don't know about quick repulse. I don't think I ever want to take a hit with Raven, period. But then again, how will he even get the desperation? I guess he does have to take a hit at some point. But if that's the case, honestly, I wouldn't use quick repulse, especially on melee units like that. Look at this. He doesn't have any defense. I would never use quick repulse on something like that. I would probably just look at this. This is far better to use desperation or something else with, or at least wrath. But I would never put quick repulse on something like this. He is so fast already. What's the point? You know. Okay, and Zhang Yao Mei. Well, our wonderful friend here, who likes to specialize in this barst, has this slaying axe with wrath. One thing though is that I'm not sure about distant counter on a 21 res. It's kind of weird in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, he can probably tank Reinhardt. 21 res should still be able to do it, especially with his high health. But against other mages, I don't know. It's kind of risky. His speed isn't exactly high either, so he's likely to die on that. I mean, yeah, he does have quick repulse, but that's only works if he survives to launch a second attack. So he's gonna have a problem with mage. He's gonna perform decently against melee units though, but you know, he's not exactly super specialized either, considering that he's using distant counter. But, well, you know, Bars has turned into a monster. But I don't know. I feel like he can probably use a better skill than distant counter in his case. Alright, now we have Aether with Lucina. Okay, so just like similar to Barst, well, we have a problem with resistance. Usually when you run a character with distant counter, you want to make sure resistance is at a decent, acceptable level. And in this case, even with Falchion's +4 to all stats, you're only going to sit at 24 res. So you're going to be exposed to all kinds of horrible elements, especially the likes of Reinhardt. I mean, you're a red sword. It's absolutely terrible. You don't want to have to do that. So instead, as a matter of fact, I probably built Lucina completely differently from the other units I built, just because of this wonderful Spectrum bond. So with Spectrum Bond, what I would probably do is I'm going to run something like Wings of Mercy on my B slot. Or, well, get guidance support or something better so that I can actually just teleport next to one of my units when they're in danger. And then just have our bonds give us strength and chop up whoever gave them trouble. That would be probably what I'd do with that. Of course, I can also stay near a unit at all times and just use my bond. But that's how I should play around with that. Of course, you could also turn her into an enemy-faced unit, but again, these defenses are a little risky to do such a thing with. I suppose she can do decent against, like, arrows and daggers, but magic, it's a bit risky, so I don't know. I wouldn't use distant counter on Lucina. I'd probably just focus on her being, like, a strong frontline unit that fights near her friends a lot. Okay, and now we have Haya with Alesia. So Alesia, this one is built just like a cookie cutter Alesia, but you don't see too many +10 Alesias floating around, so I keep this guy on my friend list. Now, of course, Gale Force Heavy Blade is one of these most disgusting setup in the world. So if she can quad someone, she doesn't even have to quad someone. She just needs to get hit. She just needs to hit someone twice, get hit, and then immediately she can move again. This is a very deadly setup, and while there are merit to using Fire Sweep on Alesia, I feel that immediate is too strong of a weapon to just mess around with. I mean, this is a disgusting setup. If she gets near somebody, they die. This is a lot of power. 58 attack, I mean, isn't like super strong, but it's still very strong. And getting hit twice by that, and on top of this, getting a Gale Force, yeah, you're gonna have some problems. Alright, now we have Brooke. Burke, I love Burke's units a lot. Burke shows me a lot of wonderful units, including this plus 10 risk. And at this time though, he's decided to show me this wonderful Pouring Girl. So Pouring Girl Soleil has Armor Smasher, Life and Death 3, Sword Breaker. Alright, so you're dealing with sword people, you like to fight armor. I mean, it makes sense. This guy is a huge whale. This is like the biggest whale I've ever had in like on my friend list. He shows me so many different units. But anybody who builds a plus 10 Riz is definitely a kindred spirit, so I like him a lot. I am definitely going to keep him for a very long time. But otherwise though, I mean, this unit is mainly for fighting armor, of course, obviously, and to fight on high tier arenas. Alright, so this Delphia. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this Delphia is absolutely disgusting. So, Blair Serpent and Distant Defense. Now, when I think about it, does this really work on Delphia? I mean, look at her. Just look at her. Just look at this 14 death. But then, if I were to do this, I were to give Distant Defense and Blair Serpent, we're looking at 12. So, okay, so she goes up to 26 defense. Alright, 26 defense plus, this 39 health. That'll put her at... Ooh, that's actually a little higher than I thought. 65 health, well, total health. I mean, all things considered, she's still gonna have some trouble because bow units, especially strong ones like City Mongolian Lin, tends to get cavalry buffs and such whatnot and get hit really hard. But I think she might actually be able to survive one hit from it. And you know what? Just like how I set up my Rebecca, after taking a hit, you can go into desperation mode and start cleaning up. So this setup, from what I've seen here, is that after tearing someone to shreds with Iceberg and killing them, she can immediately go back on the offensive and kill someone else with desperation. I mean, 55 attack times 2 is pretty strong. I wouldn't call it the strongest thing in the world, but it's pretty strong. It'd be better if she's a little bit faster, so maybe I'd go with plus speed. But then again, nowadays a lot of units tend to be kind of on the slow side. Still, it'd be better if she has more speed. In fact, yeah, 46 speed might be a little bit better, because if you may recall, my Ultra Fae has 41 speed. Fae, okay, you know, the little lolly dragon, yeah, Fae has 41 speed. So, if you were to hit 46 speed, though, then you can actually, not that you want to fight Fae in the first place, because, you know, she's nice and green, but still, I feel like with plus 10 units, you want to buff your speed a little bit more than just the early 40s. Probably like 45 or above would be better for doubling. Otherwise, it's mostly just for keeping yourself from getting doubled. Of course, Ultra Fae also has speed ploy, so you gotta watch out for that. But that's story for another time. Alright, so here we have Hinata. Well, this Hinata from Hinata is, well, built the way I would probably build Hinata. Let's forget about his speed. Let's instead work on his attack and death. So after taking some damage, he turns into, a death god, really. Unless, you know, a dragon were to walk up and just go, pah! And then, in which case, he will immediately pass away. But, you know, if we don't worry about his res at all and just focus on his, his virtues, shall we say, look at his 47 death, okay? And if we were to add 7 to that, we're going to sit at 54. And then you have this 56 HP. So he has a physical defense of 110. He's going to be really tough to bring down physically. And you know what? I've mentioned this before, but most of the arena, it's just going to be armor, or strong infantry units. Of course, nowadays, now that dragons have started entering into the field, it's going to be a little bit tougher. But honestly, it's not so very bad, especially since you're going to do an Ignis on Wrath combo. Jesus Christ, man, that does so much damage off of like 54 dev. Like, how much would that even be? Jesus Christ, I can't even do my math at the moment, but at least like 40 something. 45 or something like that. A ton of damage. So, on top of his attack, yeah, you're gonna find that Hinata is a horrible monster, which is why, you know, I don't quite understand why people don't just use Hinata or something. I mean, yeah, I guess you can use your Ike to do that, but honestly, I prefer my Ike, since he has distant counter weapon, to go and just build like super magic Ike. He's more of a general fighter, fighting all kinds of people, while this Hinata here is more of a focus fighter. So he's more focused on doing that kind of job. If you set up your Ike to do that instead, you might as well just run Hinata. But I mentioned this a million times before, so I'm not going to go any further than that. Alright, and here we go with Al. Well, looks like he's, didn't change that much, but still, looking at 51 speed on the attack is still pretty scary. I can't wait to see what happens with weapon refining with the Yato. It's gonna come any moment now. Now that stupid Roy also has his binding blade upgraded, it's really just till like the next update or 2 at maximum that he gets something. But before then, you know, this kind of setup is probably what I do with my Korin as well. I mean, 51 speed is not exactly easy to match. The only one who could really do it from the list I've shown earlier is that Raven. But unfortunately, being fast doesn't mean everything. After all, you saw that Hinata earlier. Yeah, I guess you do 10 times 2. Whoa, that's a big deal. You would hurt Hinata a little. At most, too, by the way. You hurt him a little, and then he'll rip your face off. That's one of the problems with having too much speed as well. Your defense is a little bit low, but, you know, he'll be better at chopping more different people, whereas Hinata has to wait until somebody hits him, or something like that, to do his job. Of course, physical units can't do anything to him. He's like the Lucas of red colors. Alright, so there's Old Moon. His moon is so old with this wonderful tank of Sigurd, and we all know how that works. He's very tanky, not easy to kill, but then he doesn't really do too much. Alright, now we have Scuttleless with this. Okay, so we all know about Eastern Standard Time. People made a meme out of her because of the wonderful setup with Gamepedia and how they go and do Death Ploy and Brave Lands to do chunks and chunks of damage, because Eastern Standard Time has high attack power. And when she goes up to someone, she works kind of like Shirshi, in which case she stabs people to death and there's nothing they can do about it. But, man, what's the story with this res ploy? That's what I want to know. What is up with this res ploy? I mean, Death Ploy I can understand, because then you have +5 attack to your attacks. You're doing 10 more damage to your opponent. But what is up with this res ploy? I don't understand. And why Astra? Do you just want to see Eastern Standard Time going a million times in the face or something? Because I wouldn't use Astra. I mean, Astra is strong, but you usually either overkill or not enough kill. I don't really like Astra for that reason, even though they did, buff it a little bit by making it a cooldown of 4. But I think we can do something else, like Draconic Fang, Draconic Aura, or Dragon Fang, or something like that. Or something like Glacies. Yeah, Glacies would really, really, really hurt. But that's something I do. Astra is, most people aren't going to really survive this kind of horrible attack from Eastern Standard Time anyway. She hits quite hard. Afterwards, though, I'd probably use something like Hit and Run or Drag Back so that she can fly out of safety after murdering someone to death. But Lancebreaker is good too if you want to just really ruin a Lancer's day. But then again, a lot of Lancers I've been looking at have a lot of defense nowadays. Obaro has a lot of defense, and so does that stupid Hard On. He has a lot of defense. So I don't know. I mean, usually I kill people quick enough, but still, should be some lance units that deserves getting killed to death by Lancebreaker, but in most cases, I think Eastern Standard Time would stab them to death anyway. But that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. The real problem is why this Resploy. That's what I want to know. So let me know. Alright, now Kusabi has turned into a lolly. He showed me this wonderful Sizel, and now he's going to show me this wonderful Elise. So this is what happens when Elise turned even lollier. After getting attacked by the evil Delphia, she turns into a lolly. And now lolly Elise decides to give us all a green gift. A green gift of neutralizing bonuses. Okay then, well that's great if you're fighting other tomes. I guess it's pretty good too, considering that a lot of people have been using buffs lately, but still, I feel like I see debuffs more than I do buffs. But man, look at that speed though, 49 speed is pretty decent, but she's no Nino, that's for sure. Nino can do some serious destruction with that blade tome, but hey, you know, with this setup you can actually fight Nino and you can tear her to shreds. So there's one good out of that. I don't know what that breath of life is all about, but you know, it's there. And then there's desperation, and well, I mean, in general she's gonna perform. She's just not quite what I expected. I honestly like her little tome. The tome that she comes with, I like that a lot. Like Spectrum Drive 1, I like that a lot. I'm just a huge fan of buffing my allies across like 2 spaces in general. But still, I can see where this Elise goes. Alright, now we have Setsuna. I don't see too many of her nowadays, but when one is shown, I always find myself impressed. But Seal Dev, I mean, look at this. There's something up with this Setsuna. This Setsuna's a chain smoker, and I guess Seal Dev works. I guess if you get a dancer to make you move again, then the person that has got hit before will most certainly die. But I don't know. I still added him to the friend list though, just because Setsuna is an interesting addition to my friend list. I love unique heroes. I love unique heroes at plus 10. So that's why this guy is on my friend list at the moment, even though his build doesn't quite make sense to me. Still, I guess this Setsuna could spread some debuffs across the board, so there's that coming with it. But I think the Chill series may be a little bit better at this time. Still, you can affect many units with that as well. But let's see if I'm gonna do something like that. I just run Sizo or something, and then I have my C and seal slot open to do some kind of destruction afterwards. Still, well, that is their Setsuna. Alright, now Astera with Magic Dyke. Though I think that her resistance goes a little higher than this, if she has plus res or something. I don't know, I gotta look that up. Still, 28 is a very high, well, I wouldn't say very high, I would say it's a very good number. It's a healthy number on top of that 46 health that she's got, and 45 speed just leaves you in a pretty good spot to not get doubled, and can double a good number of people as well. So you probably don't even need quick repulse, whether you do, well, you know. But with distant counter, you could still hit 45 speed. This is pretty scary, and with Dao Wrath, we all know how that works. So this is, in a way, kind of like a mix of Selena, Miku, and Roy, honestly. Soleil is in a field of her own if she's built like that. Again, though, I don't know, I mean, one of the things I really don't like with Aether is just that 5 charge. That 5 charge is so awkward. Sometimes it takes too long to get a skill out. Sometimes it's just, well, it would be good if we have something that complements it. But thankfully, though, this Soleil does have Heavy Blade to do that with. Still, 45 speed. Well, I guess you can rely on your allies with dry speed as well. I'm sure you have more than that. Tail is pretty common, so we can probably expect a decent amount of speed from this pouring girl, Magic Dyke, to do some serious destruction on countering, and if she wants to go on the offense, she can still do that quite well. All in all, this is a good setup. I like it. And here we have Frederick as Frederick. Now, I mentioned this before. I really, really love it when people build plus 10 units, specialize in a special unit that they love, and turning them into monsters. That's what I do, and I love it when other people do it too. So this dude went on my friend list almost immediately when I saw him in my friend request. So this Freddy here has decided that he hates enemy horses. So now if you're a horse and you dare fight him, say you're a Reinhard, you get your face ripped off. That's the end of that. The new Reinhard with his wonderful dual attack, yeah, that's great. I'm Frederick, I have 40 def, and I'm also green. I'm gonna rip... Well, actually, no, what am I saying? He's a red sword, but he can probably still tank it and then rip his face off anyway, just because he's Freddy. Freddy with a pole axe. Oh yeah, then there's Owen as well. That just got... But then again, Owen might be able to do... If Owen gets buffed enough, probably might be able to do it. Although Freddy does have a decent amount of res of 22 plus distant defense, so 28 plus 52. Yeah. So 80, it might be able to do just enough to kill Frederick, but might not. And if they don't, well, Owen will find her face removed by this pole axe as well. So all in all, I kind of like this setup. It's really, really terrifying. I do like Freddy, and well, when Freddy is built in such a wonderful way, it makes me shiver. Especially if he gets that bonfire off. God damn, that's disgusting. Though it would be good if he has more res, but he's fine as he is. This is wonderful. He can fight cavalry, melee cavalry, and he can fight certain types of range cavalry. He just needs to be careful if they don't get buffed too much. Maybe a panic ploy support would be good with him. Alright, Wardo. Let's see. Well, he's got chill dev, so, you know, if you have a lot of death, you'll get your face ripped off. Yeah. Though, again, I'm kind of awkward with res, but I suppose it's still pretty decent considering Freddy also has that much. But then I would prefer to run distant defense and then quick repulse. Chill dev is great if you really want to murder someone, but honestly, chill skills are much better on supportive units rather than on tanks or like on attackers. Though chill speed might be good on attackers, but then you have to deal with overrides such as sword break and stuff like that. It's a little bit of a messy business, but anyway, chill speed is good, but chill def is kind of when it comes to that. Better someone else use it. Here we have me with Purry. Well, this Purry here is disgusting. Look at you. You're gonna go and sweep into an enemy formation, and then you're gonna splash Savage Blow all over the place. That's what you're gonna do. But Glimmer is kind of awkward because I would carry Glimmer if I were to get hit once, because then I can unleash it on the same turn. Still, what this Purry's gonna do is she's gonna run into an enemy and she's gonna go and splash Savage Blow over the place and kidnap the person that she attacked. That's what this is about. She's not about anything else but giving people a hard time by kidnapping people. Still, I would probably run something else other than Fire Sweep Lance, because 42 speed is good, but not good enough to double a number of plus 10 units. So, there's not too much synergies going on here with Glimmer and Fire Sweep, but still, I like the idea of splashing lots of damage on people, but I think that's better for Savage Vantage users. Still, in a way, it's kind of like having a cavalry pain plus. It's like having melee cavalry that inflicts pain plus. So I guess I could see the use as well. I mean, you don't have to worry about getting attacked. So, I mean, it's not bad. Maybe I should see it in action first, but I would prefer that. I don't know. It's just so awkward. I'm trying to think. I mean, yeah, you could splash some damage on people, but then you end up putting them in desperation advantage, and it's not like you can put it to your own advantage. If you had advantage, it'd be another story, but no, you don't. You kidnap people. Well, I think I might try that setup at some point. I might use lunge or something with fire sweep lands. That could be kind of interesting. But then I can't counterattack. I don't know. Well, I'll keep that thought for later. I do find this interesting, but I can't quite think of a good way to use it just yet. And here we have this with wonderful Sanaki, which, well, I've always liked using her. I talked about her before when I was talking about a build before. In this case, though, you've decided to give yourself Wind Sweep and Phantom Speed. I guess that's good, but it's kind of pointless. I mean, it makes sense, alright? If you were to debuff somebody, then, Wind Sweep and Phantom Speed combo would make a little more sense. But in this case, you're either killing someone or you don't kill someone. But I suppose, I don't like it. Her death is too low. Yeah, you should really just aim to kill someone and not have to worry about counterattacking right afterwards. So, Wind Sweep and Phantom Speed, I don't think that'll work on her. I think another setup might be better. Yeah. Swift Sparrow. I mean, you're giving her all these wonderful speed, but then she only hits once, so ideally you want to kill your target in your first blow. So then Wind Sweep, well, it's kind of pointless. After you kill them, there's no point. But I don't know what I'm even saying. I don't think I would run Wind Sweep though on Sanaki. Alright, so we have wonderful Odin. This time he's got 41 speed and 50 attack. But unfortunately, he needs to do something else besides threaten speed if he were to go and try to double people. Can he use ploy? No, he needs people to help him out with that. His attack is 50. I mean, it's kind of low end, but if he does get a blade, he can hit pretty damn hard. I think he needs more support than usual, but he can still blade. So 50 attack on top of a blade is still pretty scary. I mean, Odin by himself is not special by any means, just because of his reduced BST and the fact that he doesn't really have anything that particularly stands out. If he has more speed, he'd be a little scarier as a desperation user, but his speed is kind of on the low end as well. He needs support to get there. Thankfully, though, you got Water Blessing, you can get someone else to use Speed Ploy. So, I mean, he can still be a pretty deadly blade user, but other than that, can't really find any other particular use for him at this time. Alright, here comes our Nephany. Well, our Nephany hasn't changed too much since before, and it seems like, though, that we're going to focus on our Ignis and Slaying Lands combo to tear some of the shreds. Unfortunately, though, her res is a bit low, but her speed definitely helps her out, keeping her from getting doubled, while she probably doubles somebody else and rips them to shreds with that wonderful Ignis on 3-turn charge. So this Nephany is definitely something to look forward to. Then again, you also have Quicken Pulse. Oh my god. So on that, so it's like 2. So if she gets hit once and then she does a double attack, well, you can guarantee your face get ripped off. And afterwards, she'll have like a charge of 1. Oh no, 2. My bad. It'll still be 2 afterwards, just because Quicken Pulse have already been used. But still, a 2-turn Ignis is pretty scary. 38 defense isn't like super high, but it's pretty damn high. So yeah, Nephany is pretty scary. I like this setup. Alright, now what do we have here? Steven Stone. Steven Stone also has this wonderful distant counter and Slaying Lands combo. Too bad you can't use Wrath. But you know what? Instead of that, then, I'll just get myself Quick Repulse to fight other speed demons. And, of course, I have Distant Depth 3. So I have 39 res. And 32 dev. That's actually pretty tanky. She's actually really tough to kill. I rather like this Shauna. This Shauna is pretty tough to kill. What a monster. Jesus Christ. Alright. And here we are with this Marth. Marth is built as standard as Marth goes. I mean, you usually see Iot Shield, or you see something like Closed Dev to make sure that her dev cannot be challenged by melee units. Of course, a lot of ranged units don't have high dev in the first place, so yeah, you're not likely to double her anytime soon. Especially with 43 dev, Jesus Christ. Now, God, I want a Dragonino myself, but I haven't summoned because I said that I was going to save orbs for Veronica. Alright, now we have Hana. So Hana, let's see. Well, we have our chill speed. We talked about that before. So that works a little bit better for attackers because then you can get yourself to 50 speed if you were to be challenged by other units that have like 45 speed or so like that. They get their speed reduced and you can probably double them. Let's see. So if you're so people earlier, it's generally set around like 45 speed. I mean, except for Raven. Raven had like 52 or something like that. That was actually kind of scary. So Raven you can't kill like that, but otherwise, let me see here. Yeah, 52 speed. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of speed. But otherwise, the other guys that you see earlier with like floating around like 45 speed, you can chop down. Still, it's a good setup. I like it. And Distant Counter allows you to fight all different types of opponent. And besides, I know you. I know you're not just going to use Distant Counter. So your speed can go even higher than 43. This is just for chopping up people in general. So, that being said, you know, Hana is an extremely powerful unit and lots of attack and speed. She's always been like this. Alright. Magics. Blanino. Well, this Blanino is all about tanking attacks and spitting it back out. And that giant spoon, oh boy. That's all there is to it. Oh, of course, she has 41 speed too. God damn it. That's really fast for an armor. And now she doesn't even have to worry about... It doesn't really need, like, to worry about getting doubled. Whereas she can double people to death with Vengeful Fighter. Although, if she were to run Bold Fighter and Quick Repulse like the others, so disgusting, so disgusting. Not only will she be hard to kill, but she will tear people to shreds. Of course, Aether, in which case, is much better for that kind of setup, because then the odd number bonuses from Vengeful Fighter and such will allow her to proc Aether more often. And then there's Spring Nino with 2 res. Well, you know, there's not much difference from here. I like this setup better than trying to emulate Reinhardt or be another Blade Tome user. That way she can still fight quite nicely. I mean, 45 speed, and then you have to add on top of Swift Sparrow. So she's got 49 speed, which is, I mean, pretty impressive. And then you can debuff people while still fighting. So that's what I would most prefer Spring Nino to be built. A support unit that can still fight. Kind of like Marth, really. I mean, instead of focusing on buffing others, though, she's focusing on debuffing others. Just gotta watch out for Harsh Command. If Harsh Command definitely becomes meta at some point, like a Harsh Command skill on a C slot or something like that, or a buff Harsh Command at some point that affects like a large area, then you have to be careful with using characters like Spring Nino. Whereas Marth, unfortunately, does not have such weaknesses yet. I feel like Spurs and Drives are gonna be tough to beat until they come up with something that counters it. I have not thought of something that can do something like that unless you use direct debuffs, but direct debuffs, well, as I mentioned, Harsh Command can stop them. Then there is Air Raid. Air Raid I always love because Air Raid has always shown me a different air unit each time I look at them. And this time we have a plus 10 Minerva. So this plus 10 Minerva here, we have 43 speed, which is pretty decent. could be faster, though. If we use her native life and death, that'll put her at 45. That'd be a better use of heavy blade. But of course, she can receive flyer buffs. And, well, we all know what happens when somebody gets to attack twice. So, yeah, I like this setup a lot. It's actually quite frightful. Though I wouldn't use Fury in that case. But then again, Fury would help her lose health. So, but it'll take quite a few battles before that happens. 2 at the very least. Though 1 if she takes a hit. Yeah, I think that'd be better. If she does that, then her desperation and Gale Force will allow her to pretty much sweep the rest of the team. The enemy team.
Alright, now Delphia with Eureka. Okay, well,
scary setup. And of course, if she steals buffs from other people, well, yeah. That's one thing I like about her with this upgraded Sequin, because now not only does she receive buffs from her friends, but she also gets buffs from herself. So that can push her stats to unimaginable levels, even with just 4 units on the field. So yeah. And then we have our standard distant counter and wrath setup. It's actually pretty damn scary. I mean, it's combining all these stats. You're looking at something like Watao, but then Watao can also give you more speed and dev and res on top of everything. So this is actually, Eureka is actually a really scary unit. I would never underestimate her. You see her on the field, you better watch out if there are people that are buffed nearby. You may want to get rid of them first. Or something, because this horrible creature could potentially just one-shot you. And she's got the speed to do it if she has help. Currently, she's sitting at 39. Doesn't look very threatening, but you won't know. You wouldn't know. She could suddenly, all of a sudden, have like 50 speed for all we know. Okay, so now we have Naui. Well, Blade Naui with Wind Sweep. Again, Wind Sweep better to use for debuff users or something like that. Other than that, it's kind of pointless on something that you just meant to kill someone in one shot with. But, well, that's how it is. Ooh, then we have Xian Atomic. See, I added this character to my friend list because I saw this setup and I felt that is horribly disgusting. Alright, so Handbell, of course, we all know, gives you 2 to all stats. So that already puts her to like 42 or 43 when she's attacked. And then you have this. Like, what the hell is this? That puts her immediately at like 50 res and 47 dev. That's really tough to take down. And that's before any ward armor and closed dev shenanigans. This Sheena right here is literally an atomic bomb. Just anybody who attacks her is going to feel the pain. Though there are some ways to bring her down, especially considering that, I use a 6 Pass of Pain Plus, and of course, if you match colors, you can still beat her. So basically, you just have to wait until she comes up to hit you in the face, and then you have to you can just try to kill her in an enemy face instead. That's one of the problems with armor before, because they don't really have a strong player face until Bold Fighter came around. But I feel like Bold Fighter might have been too strong. Alright, here we are with Trey Terry with Armor Smasher. Armor Smasher, distant counter, vantage, rest tactics, heavy blade. Would be nice if you're a little bit faster though. Because, vantage is good, but Armor Smasher is great too, but I feel like there are people who can do this a little bit better. Yeah, your distant counter is nice on the 28 res, but I feel like you need to be a little bit faster like the others I saw before. That Armor Smasher is also kind of awkward, but hey, you probably have something in mind with that. Alright, Otax. I always love brain damage Celica. I wish I have one of my own, but I never built one because I didn't spend any money. I'm still giving myself blue balls thanks to Veronica, but I think I might change that soon depending on what happens during the during the Golden Week business for the Japanese. They might unleash some kind of horrible banner, in which case I will, depending on what it is, I might go back to my old ways. Especially if Celica were to appear on such a banner, then I will most certainly go back to my old ways. Anyway, so yeah, Fire Sweep Sword, Gale Force, kind of awkward. Why would you do that? Wouldn't you have something that gives you more? I mean, yeah, I guess you can use Fire Sweep Sword with chain smoking to really wreck the enemy. They can't really do much against you. 31 and 30 is pretty decent defense, so you can definitely take a hit there as well. I mean, I can see where you're going at with that, so yeah, but Gale Force is kind of weird. I mean, I suppose you might use Heavy Blade later as a seal, but Gale Force is kind of weird. Anyway, so that's that. Ooh, it looks like somebody's 4-blaze ready with a baloney. Baloney with Death Blow 3 and Swordbreaker 2 and Now, what do they say they did with with baloney? They gave 4-blaze something that... right. They weaken enemy res, but we still don't know what happens if she gets sent through a weapon refinery. But for all we know, it might just be something stupid like, oh, now you can hit dragons harder or something like that. But... well, clearly this monster is 4-blaze ready, and with that wonderful -7 res later on top of this ridiculous attack, you can potentially one-shot quite a number of people. Then you don't even have to worry about speed. 9S with Super Magic Ike. See, this is how I would keep my Super Magic Ike. The way he is. That's the way he is best used. And then you have Wrath to make your Radiant Aether into a stronger hitting machine. So, I don't really have to say much. You can just watch my Super Magic Ike video on what I feel about Super Magic Ike. Now we have Marik. This Marik has Dark Excalibur. He tanks a hit and then he rips them to shreds. But Glimmer on that 48 attack is kind of awkward. I mean, I guess it... but... I don't know. Plus 10 damage is calculated after the fact, and Glimmer itself is kind of better for stronger attackers. So I would probably use Moonbow or something, in which case it would be a little scarier. Glimmer could potentially backfire, but then again, I don't know. I prefer Excalibur if that's the case, but then again, Excalibur also has this problem where most air units tend to have a lot of res. Well, most. There are some exceptions, such as Michaelis or Minerva, but in most cases they have a lot of res. So it is kind of hard to put Marik to work. That's the one problem with mage units, because their BST is so low. You can't spread them too thin. So he doesn't have speed. Alright, so you use Quick Riposte to cover that up. Distant Depth and to deal with enemy mage, but again, this is probably something that, and bow users, this is probably something that's a little bit better used on Sonya instead, but I can see the appeal in this. And I'd probably switch over to Bonfire though, in this case. I feel like that would be much more of a threat because of his low 48 attack. Let's take a look at the wonderful Nero Angelo guy again. See, look, well, I mean, it's not that much higher, but she's more on the offensive character, so she gets another +4. Whereas our wonderful friend, he is more of a guy who takes a hit and then counters. And speaking of that, that's what Flame Mess's wonderful Captain America does as well. Takes a hit, build up energy, releases Ignis, and blows her off their face. One of the things I like also about smoke class debuffs is that you don't have to actually hit someone to debuff them, so I like that a lot. Alright. And he also has Panic Ploy running on 52 HP, not bad, not bad. Well, there you have it, a standard enemy face unit. Nosferatu, well, ran just the way I would like with
Spring Meno.
Nothing else needs to say about that. And then there is wonderful increasing discomfort dancer who uses distant counter to deal with mages. Running on her 32 res, it makes perfect sense. Although I'd probably use something else like Iceberg. Luna is fine, but I feel like since you're gonna stack your res to deal with mages, you would much rather smash them to bits in one hit. Luna might miss a couple kills. And finally, we have Mista with this normal girl. Well, as normal as you can imagine. This is as normal as it is for enemy phase units. Like that Sheena earlier. But unfortunately, there are weaknesses to strictly enemy phase units. Anyway, so that's the end of my wonderful review of these people on my friend list. I probably will not do them as often because these do take quite a bit of time, and you know what? I probably suffered brain damage in between and say things that I don't mean, or I don't know. It does take quite a toll on me, so I probably might not do this for very long. Anyway, I thank you all for watching. Until next time.